You're here today because it's actually about trying to inform you about what's going on so that you can make the decisions.
Nobody else in Cornwall is doing this.
Get your views across and they will be listened to.
The key principles are the thing to focus on.
If you melt the Antarctic ice cap, you can't refreeze it.
How do we limit the risk?
So potentially quite serious change at Crooklets.
There is a risk if we do nothing, the changes we could see will be significant.
A lot for us all to think about in terms of the action that we need to take.
Then we can respond collectively.
Because it will make a real difference.
So thank you very much for coming and thank you.
Bude is the most sensitive location to sea level rise in the whole of the UK. What it means is that every inch or foot of sea level rise here has a more profound effect in terms of making flooding more frequent. An extreme water event that would currently happen here once every 100 years by 2070 will be, on average, an annual event.
This is Summerleaf Beach in the present day. In the short term, we might expect it to start looking like this. So at this point, the dunes have eroded back. The lifeboat station and the toilet block are now looking quite precarious. In the medium term, it might start looking like something like this. Once those dunes are eroded and once it's a kind of direct wave attack, you would potentially start to see the erosion accelerate. Whereas at Crooklets, it's backed by sort of hard concrete infrastructure. When that does fail, we would expect to see quite serious erosion. The main thing to think about here is the change that could happen rather than necessarily when it will happen.
So we brought together a group of people from the local community, a jury as it were. Over a process of 5 days, 30 hours, they will come to a set of recommendations. These will be presented to Cornwall Council. They've agreed that they will consider them. Their recommendations will play a significant part in shaping how Bude responds to sea level rise. So before we even started recruiting to the jury, we set up an oversight panel. We invited about 35 different organisations in the local area, ranging from the surf club, the rugby club, representatives from Cornwall Council, anybody who's a sort of stakeholder and has some kind of say in how our community operates.
The role of the oversight panel was to build the community jury in a way that was reflective of the local community.
We wrote to every household in the area, 8,500 households, invited them to apply. We got about 175 applications. From those 175, we selected 40 randomly, but so that they were a mini representation of our community in terms of their breakdown in all sorts of demographics like gender, age, income, ethnicity, their attitudes to climate change and so on. Then the oversight panel then decided the question that the jury would address. And the question is, how can we respond to a changing climate, including sea level rise, to support our community to thrive?
So in Bude, we've been running a citizens jury to try to answer that question. We're a not-for-profit that exists to try to make sure that citizens are able to influence what happens in their own communities.
I had a letter in the post about climate change and I was interested.
I'd seen the banners along the A39 as well, and then when the letter came through the post, it sort of like solidified the fact that I'd like to do it.
I wasn't sure at first, but my wife urged me that it would be a good idea, so.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So straight away on my laptop and went, right, yeah, I'm going for it.
I was pretty amazed that this was coming out of Bude.
It's easy to feel that, you know, when you hear about the sea levels going to rise up to the car park, you can feel completely hopeless because it's completely out of your control. But having, you know, a voice that is going to be a direct message to those in power, it gives you a sense that at least you can try to influence the decision making.
In the first weekend, we brought everybody together to try to feel comfortable with each other and able to learn from each other's experiences.
And reassuring us that the project had some teeth, which was important for me.
Then we heard from a number of outside commentators talking about a very simplified explanation of what is climate change and what are its impacts, and then looking at where are the emissions that are coming from locally and nationally.
They then give us a chance to go off into groups to talk about what we've just heard and form any questions as a group that we might have for the speakers.
At the end of that day, we asked the jury what do they want to examine in more detail. They came back with two main topics. One was to look at sea level rise in more detail. It was clear to them that that was a key issue for us as a community. And the other one was how they can raise awareness.
We moved on to sea level rise and had a number of commentators looking at what sea level rise predictions there are related to climate change locally and further afield, and what might be some of the impacts of that.
It's a real step change away from traditional forms of face-to-face engagement, so I think it's brilliant.
You've had a chance to actually hear someone's views face to face and to build ideas as a collective. My name's Joe, or Mr. Olorenshaw, and I'm a teacher of English at Bude Haven School. There's a Mr. Renshaw downstairs who teaches computing, and all the kids can spell his name, but no one can spell Olorenshaw. It's been great to see that the moderators have put a lot of effort into making sure that we listen to each other and to ensure that those voices who are sometimes more shy or reserved are also heard.
It's just been so well facilitated.
I have dyslexia, dyscalculia, which disables me in some ways. It's been great for me to actually go, oh, I can do this. And finding there's great support amongst everyone there. It's been brilliant. It's been educational and empowering.
They've made me feel really valued by paying us for our time in vouchers. It's not a cash exchange, but it's still paying people for their time, which is, I think, a really important part of it. But more than that, they've made it really accessible for people. For anyone who might be looking after a child on the weekend, they make it so that they'll pay for your childcare and like pay expenses for anyone getting there or anything.
I believe that the jury, if it keeps up its momentum, will have an impact.
The next phase is we meet for the last day when we coalesce all of the things that we've heard into a response to climate change in Bude with solid recommendations. We know that it's got a value because the simple fact that we've held this jury will be a demonstration that there is an appetite in Bude for addressing climate change.
The fact that the jury exists has been a material consideration in the awarding of the recent Coastal Transition Accelerator Programme funding, so it's already making a difference.
We're the first place in the southwest to get this, and it's £3 million for Bude to look at how it's going to make the transitions due to sea level rise.
That's lovely, thank you very much. So there you go.
So there's a number of outcomes from a process like this. The first, of course, is there'll be a set of recommendations. So this mini version of Bude's population will produce a set of recommendations which will then be presented to politicians, business leaders, other powerful people within the area that are able to influence the decision. But the other thing that comes out of a process like this is a group of highly motivated, knowledgeable local people who will inevitably have a great desire to push for action.
The community engagement part is really important of developing solutions in terms of adapting to a changing climate. It has to be woven in alongside a number of other considerations. You've got the economic viability of doing certain things, whether they're also technically viable, and also the environmental impacts, whether what is being suggested is suitable and it doesn't negatively impact on the environment. All of those things, including the community's views and wants or needs, we try and feed into that overall process when we're developing the business case and what the potential preferred option is. It's been really good to see the outputs and the recommendations from the jury. One of the good things is that quite a lot of the recommendations they've made have either got things that have been started, like CTAP that is currently being developed. The Making Space for Sand work is already looking at things in relation to the dune on Summerlees, or that we can further implement that are already, to a certain extent, happening, but just perhaps not at the forefront of what the community are already seeing. So some of it is about communicating back to the jury in terms of things that they may not have even been aware of as a community, essentially.
The thing that's come out of it is not necessarily coming up with a bulletproof plan of how we're going to adapt to it or try and mitigate certain aspects of it, but more a plan to keep the community involved. Some of the changes that are going to come are going to have a massive impact on everyone who lives here. So for us to be involved in the decision-making process, I think will make everyone just feel a lot more empowered. As soon as people are empowered with knowledge, they're able to decide what they're going to do with it and how they're going to take it forward.
Sea level rise in particular is going to be a very, very big issue for communities around the southwest, and particularly in Cornwall over the next 5–10 years. We're pioneering one approach to how a community deals with it, how it comes to terms with it, how it comes to a collective response. And this project can be an exemplar for other communities facing similar challenges.
The more communities taking part in this, the quicker you will resolve the problem.
I had kids who I would never have thought as being especially political telling me face to face that this was an issue dear to their heart. If I fail to represent the fear and also the hope that they feel, then I'm not doing my job as a member of the community. The main mission that I've got in this project is to just try and make sure that the urgency of it is felt, but that we direct that in some positive way. We all want a positive future, but we're only going to get it if we fight for it.